Okay, so there were a lot of different techniques that I made use of in this piece, and one of the things that I can't stress enough, and you probably hear me say it a lot throughout this course and through all my courses, is that it's really important to lock in with the rhythm section with the bass player and drummer. So while this was a pretty bright tempo. So that's the bass player is walking all the way through, basically playing on all of the downbeats, okay? And the drummer is actually, holding the groove together, but in a real playing situation, not a backing track situation, live, jam session, a studio recording, or a gig. Drummer's going to be playing some accents, usually with the kick and with the snare, and that's what I tried to do. So I start off again with basically our friends, the 4 to the bar and the Charleston. That's the Charleston, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 4 to the bar, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so start off with that, but a lot of times you'll notice that in an effort to keep the music sort of propelled forward, which is what you want, you don't want the music to drag. Sometimes you'll go to a show and you'll notice the rhythm section is sort of picking up a little bit. That's almost a natural thing, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in a concert situation, because it shows that the band is getting excited, they're into the music. But what you don't want to do in a fast swing tune like this is drag, because then the audience starts to feel like the energy is sort of, it's like a deflated balloon. The energy starts to get sucked out of the music. So what we want to do is we want to keep that going. So you listen to just doing the same thing with the Charleston and 4 to the bar kind of hits, but then listen to some of the anticipations that I'm making that add a little drive, a little forward motion. So actually, there are a few times I actually played, I delayed when I was playing the hit, so I did kind of the opposite of what I was just talking about, but I also did some of those anticipations. And also approaching the chord from the chord right below it is a very good technique. Another thing that I did is I had some double stops that I put in. Yeah, so that's just going to add, instead of going every time B flat to the E flat chord, put a double stop. So that took the place of playing that, and then I continued on with the next chord. So that's a very effective thing to do. Then at one point, again, I was playing, I was doing some voice leading and playing more like a rhythm, like a drummer as I got going. See that? So that was that's something a drummer might play. And then I used a little voice leading, so there's pulling out the chord, dot, 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 dot. And then again, voice leading, C9, C7 flat 9, C7. So, I'm using a lot of the same ideas that I would use in another piece. The tempo has changed, the chords changed, maybe the keys changed, but the ideas, the rhythmic ideas, can be played in many different songs, and so you just have to learn where and when to apply them. Now, of course, I want you to remember one important thing. In these backing, I'm playing with backing tracks. I'm playing with a wonderful bass player and drummer that I work with a lot, and and they're supplying just a great foundation. However, it's not a live playing situation where the drummer and bass player would actually be responding to what I'm doing. So the best way to replicate that is to work with a live bass player and drummer, hopefully good players, that will be feeding you some really good, not only responding to you and being able to hit you back with the ideas that you've just played. So if I do... they'll be able to respond, to that with rhythm hits or bass, accentuating different parts of the beat based on what I'm doing, or maybe answering me with a complimentary phrase. And they'll also be feeding me some cool things, Maybe, this was a pretty fast tempo, but in some situations, maybe instead of... maybe they'll go into a double time kind of figure, and that's going to affect what I play, both as a soloist and comping. So again, what this is all about is it's about using your ear and being able, I've said many times, these are our most important chops, right here. Right? Using our ears, responding to the other musicians, listening, and letting the music carry us. Let it take you where it wants to go. At one point during the bridge of this tune, or the B section, so I'm doing voice leading and some cool... So there was A minor 7 flat 5, and then for the D7, I had a D7 with a sharp 9 and a sharp 5, then a D7 with a sharp 5 and the flat 9 into G minor, and at one point, sometimes I pick the chord. This is a pretty fast tempo to get that in, but there I put the harmonic in for just over a simple G minor. Or play a little bit of a, fragmented chord. There's a G minor, there's a G minor, add 2, or G minor 9. There was a little different. D7 flat 9, D7 into G minor with an add 9. So that's another technique that can be done where you're voice leading. And at one point, I was, so there I had, I keep that D on top. That's called a pedal point the whole time. C9, C minor 9, B7, or F. You could look at that F chord coming to the 5 chord. F with a 13 on top and a flat 9, and then home to B flat. So that's the top note that the audience and the other musicians hear. But I'm playing a lot of different chords there. And in my head, a lot of times people will say, well, how do you work on, all of these cool chord voicings and all these rhythms? It's a lot to absorb. Of course it is. So for me now, after playing for such a long time, it's become second nature. But I can't stress to you, again, the importance of really dialing this back and metronome at a very, very slow clip. As slow as you need to play it cleanly and to work on these chord ideas. So... or even slower than that, And same thing as you're, trying to come up with these cool rhythms. You've got to practice really, really slowly. I mean, I can't tell you how important that is. Even now, when I'm working on new ideas, whether I'm composing a piece or maybe I'm transcribing some cool music that someone has given me, a fellow musician or a student, and I'm listening back to, oh, that's a cool line from the saxophonist. I will transcribe it, and I do it very, very, very slowly, because that's the way that you can really absorb things the best, and then it will stay with you. It'll be something that you'll remember, and everything will sort of work together. You've absorbed it here, and then the hand motor coordination begins to, come together for you, and that's what you want. Anyway, let me show you this last chord that I did here. So probably everyone knows this B flat major 7. Now, since the bass player is playing the B flat, what I did is I actually go all the way down to the F. It doesn't matter. That's the root is the B flat, F is the 5. But what I did was I took off my pinky so that I get a 9 chord there. And then all I did was come down and I just did artificial harmonics. Right off the chord. And I mean, sometimes You can almost do it like that. Okay, you can sort of get them off that way. But, again, the artificial harmonics is something that I worked on for a long time, really painstakingly slow. So you hit the note and then you pull off. It's just something you have to work on.